Good afternoon, good evening, and all the happy horse shit that I say every other week. Today we are talking about Howard the Duck, the 1986 best comic book movie of that year. It's so good, no one even talks about He-Man Masters of What the Fuck Was I Drinking, or Captain America. Is that Red Skull wearing a rubber mask? Ooh, that or he's got back case of Acme. No, we're talking about Howard
Acme?
the Duck, the cigar smoking, beer chugging mildly perverted duck. You know, the one that we all love. That's who we're talking about. And I'm the one who picked out this cult classic, this masterpiece of what the fuck was I smoking? Movie.
And this is the bravest
Well,
thing
George
Connell's ever
Lucas's
done in his
finest.
life. Okay, by picking this movie.
Oh,
I
this
think it's
movie
a great,
is
that's a great way to kick off a month of guilty pleasures because, I mean, this is a movie only a mother could love, right?
oh my
jeez.
goodness.
But not just what were you smoking, what was like George Lucas smoking?
Well,
George
I think this was an ILM thing because
Well,
let's
not
be
only
honest,
that, I forget. I did some deep diving into the creator of Howard the Duck. The guy had an interesting career, to say the least, and he was able to leave this world with giving a couple of these to Marvel Comics on the way out. So, cheers. I forget your name, but it was very indicative of the times. For those of you who remember Cerebus, the Aardvark, and other characters, along that line.
where was my Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew, which was far superior.
to Cerebus?
I don't know.
Nothing tops Cerebus. Trust
No,
me.
no, no.
That was wow.
Movie.
You got to be a real hipster comic book reader to say that that's your number one.
I'm not saying it's my number one,
that's
but
shit. You said nothing could beat it.
in the way of anthropomorphic characters, animal characters.
Oh, okay.
That book was those books, phone book sized comic book.
Yeah, I know.
The artwork amazing, the stories way out there, and the leading of the author questionable. So I'm going to give it a thumb and a half up.
So Connell, before you watch, what year did you first watch this movie?
see, this movie came out when I was 3 years old, so I'm gonna not say when it came out. That, to be honest,
Okay. No. I'm just wondering when you
but
first
I
watched
think
it.
I watched this movie when I was. This movie was introduced to me when I was 13,
Oh, okay.
and this 13-year-old in the 90s. This is a 90s movie. Yes, it was made in '86, but this was like a 90s movie.
No, this was fully an
No.
80s movie.
Hear me out. When I say 90s movie, and I remember, I know a lot of stuff was in the 80s. The music, the outfit, the costumes, the wildness of the California clubs back in the day.
That was what Cleveland, Ohio, dude. That was everywhere.
Was that really? See,
The movie took place allegedly in Cleveland. The movie took place was set in Cleveland, Ohio. But I think that was to illustrate that Cleveland is widely considered by many people to be the sphincter of the United States. So to set the movie in Cleveland,
I'll be honest. When I went to Cleveland, I didn't think it was that bad.
it's been gentrified quite a bit.
I thought this movie. Ago. I mean, when I watch this movie, and especially the first scenes with the cherry bombs, I'm thinking of a CBDB or whatever that club was back in the '80s, the punk band club out in California.
It was in New York, wasn't it?
Golden Bear, Galaxy.
Yeah, you're like
I went to 50 different clubs just like it.
It's
got to remember also a couple things. Okay, it came out in '86, but it was probably started '84, '85, putting it smack dab in the middle of the '80s. And I don't know if anybody but me, having a deep abiding passion for the one and only Joan Jett, didn't recognize the Runaway theme, as in Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Joan Jett and the Runaways. It was just like, okay, we're just going to change a little bit, and boom, there you go. Even with the name Cherry Bomb, which was one of the Runaways' biggest hits, I was just in hog heaven with this movie.
Wow, wait. So I picked out a movie that Shadow actually enjoyed.
Yeah, it's like 2 in a row, bud.
All right, I know Jack is going to hate this movie if he ever.
Oh,
has to watch it.
absolutely. If he doesn't, we can take away his pious card.
When I say 90, there's just I remember. I know the 80s. What I remember from the 80s was a lot of the music. Back when MTV was really MTV. Back when stuff like that. But music, but there was an attitude. There was an attitude to this movie that I remember as at being a teenager in the 90s. Or young
It was
90s.
just a holdover from the 80s, from the late 70s, early 80s with the punk bands, the metal bands, the hair bands. Oh my God, the hair was
the girls with their crimped hair. That
hair
crimped
was
hair
on
took me back to grade school.
I'm telling you. And let's say howdy to TCG, Raven, and Omanal in the chat.
Now that crimped hair, my gosh, man, that and the outfits, something about that. I'm not saying it's a look that it's not saying it's a look that should necessarily come back, but let's say it's a look that I greatly appreciate.
There was nothing like it. It was all about style. To hell with substance.
Yeah, it's cyberpunk.
Give me anything from like the 1940s for hairstyle and fashion for women. I mean,
God, you and Jackie, I swear to God, peas in a pot.
This movie on an RPG level makes me want to play Dragon's Bane because I know what.
And Symbaroum also has ducks.
Have you guys ever heard of Quactica?
Whoa, guys, one at a time. Bo, what did you say?
I said this movie begs for a game that does modern well.
Yeah.
Most RPGs don't do modern well. I would say for this movie, I would want to do it like Cyberpunk 2020.
Give me World of Darkness would probably work for this.
I think
Traveler. Fine for me.
I think Traveler would work for this.
Yeah, Traveler would work for. Well, here's the thing: you're not going to combat.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't go Traveler because one clubbing and you're out of the game. Howard had some hit points. I mean, those falls he took in a D&D game, he fell more than 60 feet a couple of times.
Oh, he was a monk. Intro. Howard was a monk.
He knew Quack Fu.
You're not wrong there. Yeah.
Within 5 feet,
I want to talk. It's been a while since we've done this, but I want to talk about the cast. We normally do the characters, but I want to talk about the cast.
Okay, that's a good place to start. I agree. Let's do that.
I think this cast between Tim Robbins, the actress, I can't think of her name.
Leah Thompson. Oh my God, did I have a crush on her growing up?
She was smoking in that movie.
And the voice actor who did Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck.
Could have been done better.
Yeah, the voice could, I think, have been done better.
I don't know if it could have been better done at that time.
Yes, a better voice. It's not that hard to find a better voice.
I don't.
He needed a little bit more bogey in that accent, I think.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Then
they were confused on that because, like, at the very beginning, when Howard goes to his apartment and they're showing the noir posters. And the music that was playing was very film noir, had that Mike Hammer feel to it. And then he morphs into a med school dropout who is now a advertising copywriter. The movie's confused in that respect. They didn't know where they wanted to take the character.
I mean, honestly, I'm just
as well as a little bit of his toward rock and roll attempt past.
Exactly. So is he Mike Hammer, or is he Don Draper, or is he or is he in a rock band? Which is it?
I even got a little touch of Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future from it.
Oh, that's for the clothes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I think.
We're talking about casting. We already jumped our own shark.
Can we just skip by Jeffrey Jones? Because I'll give him this. The character he played when he wasn't the bad guy was actually not a total schlemiel.
Yeah.
Oh no, when he was in the makeup at the very end with the hunch, dark crystal hunchback look going on, and the mad scientist hair, I think he chewed a lot of scenery in those scenes. He was
Right. And I was just talking about when he was like a normal person.
Yeah.
He didn't ooze,
Villain. He was not a villain. He was actually
no. I wasn't going to say that.
But, no,
He seemed like just a decent dude,
Oh, yeah.
which is surprising. He pulled it off. And then the whole mad scientist was just creep city all the way down to the teeth that they put on him. Everything was just
the fingernails.
Well,
the tongue thing was just out of control. Oh my God, that was nasty.
If Tim Robin was actually trying to make a character that I wanted to punch, he did it well.
We've seen slimier characters.
Tim Robbins was the boy, the guy.
He could have been worse. He could have been way
Oh
worse.
yeah, I'm just saying the moment he kept going.
He was a typical '80s.
No,
dude.
okay. I will agree with both of you. He could have been a worse as a character, but his acting could not have been worse.
Oh, his acting was horrible. Oh my God.
Wouldn't it? Stilted and poor delivery. And Connell's going to say, "What's your least favorite scene, or what scene to be cut?" Yeah, every scene with Tim Robbins in it, right on the cutting room floor.
No. I disagree with Bo on this because when his head was underwater, I was okay with that.
Which kills me because I saw him much later on in his career with Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah,
he was that movie. I mean, that movie was amazing.
That movie was his career.
Yeah.
Movie, you could sum his career up in this.
Oh no, I really thought he had good timing in Bull Durham.
Yeah,
but it's been I don't think he took this movie serious, or he was just having a lot of fun with this movie and just kind of said, "Fuck it."
I think he went back to acting school and really worked on his acting.
Right. I think he probably took acting lessons. A lot of actors do. There's no shame in
Leah
that.
Thompson actually looks a lot better for some of the stuff that she was doing in here compared to stuff that she did a couple years before. I mean, they're really young and early in their career. They're really trying to get.
I mean, she.
I don't know. I watched. I think it was Caroline in the City. I watched like every episode.
Yeah, that's '90s. Caroline in the City was in the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. She was not horrible in that. She still had.
I mean, no. I meant her early stuff in like '83 versus this one.
What was she in before this?
86. I know she was in some type of Wonderful, which was in the 80s. I know she was in Back to the Future, Red Dawn, Back to the Future.
Yeah, Back to the Future. But I mean, but like her early one from like 1983 or whatever it was with Tom Cruise. You can just watch. You can tell where people like, okay, because let's be honest, when you're first learning a skill, you can vastly improve very quickly.
Okay. Her first movie that probably everybody has at least knows of is Jaws 3D, when it was took place in SeaWorld.
Wow.
That was her. Then All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise, Red Dawn, Back to the Future, Space Camp, and so forth and so on. So she was still fairly. I mean,
she'd only been out there probably acting for 2 or 3 years. I mean, but I thought she actually did pretty good in this one, considering what it, she wasn't unlikable in this one.
No,
she did feel stilted. It just felt weird.
They can handle,
especially considering the comic book influence of her character. I don't know if anybody besides me actually read Howard the Duck.
I see when the few Howard the Duck comic books I read, he was either palling around with a super surfer, or he was never with a woman. He was always
she wasn't
the on again, off again girlfriend in the comics.
Yeah, I'm not saying that she was not with him. I'm just saying the comic books I read, she was nowhere in sight.
Right. That's
entirely possible.
Because she was the on again, off again girlfriend.
The other thing that got me with this movie was all the young actors outside the main cast, but all the young actors that was in this movie. Most of them didn't get past TV shows, which is fine. But it was just there's a lot of faces I recognized being really young in this movie. And I'm like, well, I thought that was kind of cool. It made me feel old, but you know, it is what it is.
Right.
Is there any actor you would change out for another actor off the top of your mind?
Tim Robbins.
For who though? Who would you have from that era to replace him? Tom Hanks.
No, you're talking about Tom Hanks. I'll mention another one, which is
Tom Hanks is a good pick.
what is his name? The one from Judge Nelson, whatever. The one from
Breakfast Club?
Judge Reinhold.
yeah, I think it's Reinhold. The one from
He was-
the movie that Shadow starred in. You know,
Oh!
Richmond High. So,
Oh, yeah, the scene where he gets caught in the.
yeah.
Yeah, gets caught jerking the gherkin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hey,
I
it was
think
Phoebe Cates. It's Phoebe. It was Phoebe Cates. Come on.
Yeah.
I dare you to say you never had
thought about it.
impure
I
thoughts
can,
from her?
I can say no. I've never because, she is absolutely gorgeous. I will not say that she's not gorgeous, but by the time I was even thinking of that direction, she was nowhere on my radar.
Yeah, because I think that when she got married, she just dropped out of like everything.
She did a couple. Wasn't she in? She was in something else that was kind of big. I want to say Flashdance, but I know it wasn't her.
She was in Gremlins. No,
Yeah, she was in Gremlins.
but no, I think she dropped out of like in the '90s. I'm not sure she did any films.
When she married Kevin Kline, she became a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah,
She married who?
Kevin
Kevin
Kline,
Kline.
the actor.
You're kidding.
no,
Wow.
Oh, she's still married to him.
yeah.
Wow.
I always thought he was, well,
Well, he was trained in A Fish Called Wanda. He was amazing.
yeah. I mean, nothing against him. I just always thought he was gay until I realized he was married to her. I'm like, well, I was wrong.
He did well.
It's like
I'll
they're
give
still
you,
married.
I'll
Here's
give
the
you a
amazing
gap,
thing. They're still
a golf
married.
clap.
Oh, sorry. Anyway,
what was his name from Stand By Me and Sliders?
Jerry O'Connell.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Like
about
that
it.
He got John Stamos' sloppy seconds.
Damn.
Who was Rebecca Romijn? And you can't tell me that you wouldn't go to Rebecca Romijn either. But still, he married Rebecca Romijn after John Stamos had his
time with her.
had his taste.
Yeah. I thought she was hot as a mistake, so I can't say anything.
This is why I'm going to hell. But anyway,
Yes, we know what you do if you can go back in time and when you close the door, so make sure your kids don't hear you.
you know what? Because let's talk about that then, right? Because if you knew then what you knew now, and they're like, no, high school really had no consequences. So
Really?
why would you not go for quantity over quality?
Actually, I no. High school had massive consequences for me.
Well,
One of these days when I do my memoirs,
Your memoir?
yeah. High
And if I
school
was
had a
writing
lot
my
of
memoirs, high
consequences.
school would not even be a footnote. High school would be, dear my high school, go straight to hell, do not pass go, do not collect $200, go do anatomically unlikely and morally questionable things to yourself until you die of dehydration. That's my love letter to my high school.
anyway,
Tell us how you really feel.
Oh, that'll be back. That could be on my show, but anyway.
no, wait a minute. Notice that he made sure the door was closed before he came over here, so the children wouldn't hear.
That I kept all that. All that was PG rated.
I know, but I still don't want to encourage your kids to do that. So,
high school. I would get rid of a rule that I had for myself in high school, but that's really about it.
Okay, so anyway, we're talking about Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck, yeah. So, okay, so I started with the question, who would you replace? And I think everybody's Tim Robbins for Tom Hanks or Jerry Connor.
wasn't he a little too young for that at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have been like 15. You would have been like 10 or younger. You were born then?
So we have to pick someone that's age appropriate for 1986. But Tom Hanks would be better.
Tom
There'd
Hanks
be
is
some-
right there. Yeah, Tom Hanks is right there. Guilford Godfrey.
Oh my God, he's the one that should have played Howard the Duck.
Yep. I could see that.
I mean, he did the Affleck Duck.
He could have
I mean,
played
come
the Jeffrey Jones character too. He
Yeah.
really couldn't play any character except for Leah Thompson's character. And that even man,
That would make Bruce happy.
He could do a voiceover. He could not do the figure.
Well, he's about the same height.
That's Howard the Duck, yes. Actually, did you notice in how many people they credited with Howard the Duck?
Well, yeah, because
They credited like 7 people for Howard the Duck.
Face, right?
Probably all of the animatronics and acrobatics and all the other stuff.
Okay, he would have been at least 10 years older. God, the guy from Three's Company.
John Ritter.
Yeah.
John Ritter, sorry. Excuse me. I should know that. He was a friend of the family.
John Ritter could, yeah.
John Ritter would have been a good fit for that.
No, because you're trying to find someone that's trying to do up and coming as this, so you have to find someone.
I was just thinking personality more than that. I think he would have been fun for that role.
I think that.
Well, it's funny you mention it. He's in my my guilty pleasure movie. So.
Hey, Connell, I'm gonna have to switch mine around because I'm going to be traveling next weekend. So.
All right.
So
Mark,
I'll let someone else do that because I want to go with Lego Batman when it comes out.
I was happy to find that HBO Max has. I'm like, I don't want to rent this movie.
Lego Batman? Lego Batman is awesome.
I can't stand the actor.
Doesn't matter if you stand the actor. Just watch the whole thing and ignore the actor.
What actor?
Oh God, I can't think of his name, but his voice just makes me want to punch something.
Arnett or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Go watch. You'll. That's okay, Connell. You don't have to like it, but I like the fact that it's Batman versus Sauron at one point.
Gotcha. All right. So, all right, replacing out Tim Robbins, and we got a couple people. Is there anybody else?
No, because most of the other ones are kind of forget. You know what is? Could you have found
a
better actor to play?
You know what? I would have. I could have enjoyed. Was it Christopher Plummer who was in Back to the Future?
Christopher Plummer was the dad
Christopher Lloyd
in Sound of Music.
Okay. I could see him playing
Christopher Lloyd.
I could see him playing the bad guy.
Oh, the guy who played Doc Brown?
Yeah.
Actually, I will mention this much. What they should have gotten for the sleazy her manager is, could you imagine if they got, what is his name? The one that would have been Han Solo. Christopher
Walken?
Yes, Christopher Walken. Could you imagine that as her sleazy manager?
I could picture him as the cop. That would have been hysterical.
No, for the manager, if we're going to go with up and comers, Bill Paxton.
Yes.
When he was the punk rocker that got his heart torn out in Terminator, the first Terminator. Yeah, he would have been about the same time, about the same age. He had that punk rock look down.
Yeah,
I think he had that really, really animated face and that scream that we all know so well. Yeah, I could have seen him as the manager.
Bill Paxton would have done great for that. I mean, he did a great job in what was that other movie where he did play the sleazy guy?
True Lies.
True Lies, yes.
Not Jim Carrey, but the Jeff. Oh God, what's his name?
Goldthwait or whatever.
The guy from Jeff Goldblum would have been a good pick. I could see that.
Yeah.
God, he played. He was in Dumb and Dumber, but it wasn't Jim Carrey. Jeff
Bridges. Yeah, no, I don't.
We're not even.
I think he has a great sense of humor, and I think he would be a good pick for. That's where I'm coming from. He's in the newsroom. It doesn't matter. So Howard the Duck should have had a more. Yeah, I don't argue that one. He should have sound more like Bogey. But Bogey was what, dead at this joint.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
yeah.
a little bit dead.
So it
Yeah,
can't
I
be
mean,
Bogey.
you gotta understand though. Back then, everybody could do bogey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, everybody did.
But yeah, you're going for a voice actor. You could have got like Rich Little to do Bogey because it was animated. I mean, the voice was added in post production.
Sure.
Yeah. I love these movies, these type of movies, because there's there's a little bit of computer stuff to them, like showing the laser dragging them to Earth and all that. But they actually still use practical magic when they did movies. Howard the Duck's costume, or not costume.
I think they animated most of that actually.
I thought it was like puppets.
Yeah, it was.
No.
puppets
He's talking about
too.
the special effects when you see the beams and things. I think they actually animated.
Oh yeah. They might have, because I know they had a small person basically wear the costume for Howard the Duck, and I bet you that poor bastard had to lose like 15 pounds worth of sweat every day.
Well, there's look like I said, there were 4 or 5 of them. I mean, there's probably when they needed different scenes for different actors to do different.
Yeah,
stuff.
because like whoever played him when he was just wearing his boxers, that was one skinny son of a bitch.
Yeah.
To be honest, if you told me that was a kid, that would make more
That could have
sense.
been entirely a puppet too, because it didn't move
Yeah, it could have been that too.
except for the face.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Grandma. I love pre-CGI films. I grew up with them.
I'll be
Well,
honest.
I
like
agree. Practical effects. Practical effects. Really were starting to die by this time.
I'm going to bring this up I'm not going to. Well, when you look at Farscape, I thought they did the best of all 3. The
Well,
problem that I
now-
have with it is that CGI is overused. That's the problem that I have with most of it. So,
Well, Jim Henson, well, not Jim Henson.
Henson?
The Henson company was attached to Farscape. So,
yes,
I mean, if anybody would ever be considered the masters of that type of stuff, it'd very well be them.
So what scenes in this movie were really good then? What really stood out to you in terms of story, acting, quality?
the stunt scenes with the plane to me were amazing for the stuff that they did for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, because if you actually look at because that was practical effects, they had to do that. And
Yeah, I was watching the backgrounds, and the backgrounds didn't look all, 1940s, 1960s. They were really well done. They that whole scene was pretty amazing. I was really surprised with how well it came off.
I mean, if you actually look at it, they had someone flying that plane out there dressed as Howard the Duck, or it may have been the guy behind, but regardless, they had it in there. They had enough close-ups. They were actually filming him as they were flying. They were actually going over things like this. That to me was some amazing stuff for that. Ignoring all the other aspects, that was probably the only part I enjoyed because the movie was so bad.
I literally fell asleep during that part of the movie.
What's that?
The last time I watched it, I fell asleep during that part of the movie. Not because the scene, because it didn't progress the story at all. It didn't do anything for the story.
Well, I agree, but the story was so bad anyway. I was okay with it.
There is a scene when Howard the Duck, when he just basically was doing his own thing in the very beginning, and he goes back to where he basically landed, and he looks and sees his chair, and he looks up and looks at the chair again, and there's just a part of you made it too kind of look on his face or on the puppet's face. I'm like, I get that. That's like one of my that and there's another scene, but that will make me sound like a dirty.
So apparently, and maybe I'm wrong, this was Tim Robbins' first film.
It could have been. I know.
Which explains why he was so bad.
That and the awkward, hey, maybe you're attracted to something of the animal kingdom between Howard and that scene just made me giggle. I'm like, Jesus. Wait, was this movie rated?
There's a reason it bombed.
Well, it exactly
the reason it bombed was because Howard the Duck continuously bombed until much later when it became like a cult thing. And
Yeah, he
you know,
didn't
after
show.
they fired the original creator, it had a really up and down storied
Hey,
history.
Mark.
And
So-
Mark, there's just one other thing I've got to mention. If you're going to talk about the bad parts, let's not forget him working in the sex club or whatever.
Oh,
There's one of those
the
actually
the bathhouse.
still downtown where you can rent hot tubs by the hour.
That's
That was a
wrong.
bathhouse.
Yeah, I said you can rent hot tubs by the hour.
But it wasn't a nice bathhouse. That was as sleazy and scummy as you can get.
It's it.
I think there are worse, especially today. Just saying, people are pigs.
I don't think people have actually ever. People
We
don't.
haven't changed.
They haven't changed. If you look back in history at some of the Roman, back when the Roman era and their bathhouses, Jesus.
You know what? You say that, but I've been to those bathhouses, and they were a hell of a lot nicer than what was there.
I'm not saying the
Well, you're a time
structure of the
traveler
building
too?
wasn't gorgeous. I'm
I've
talking
lived
about
in
the
Germany.
people.
I've been to the bathhouses.
Right.
Talking about
They're still operational to this day.
available services. Yeah, but when Pompeii, the city of Pompeii was excavated, there were very, very, very many explicit menus found in mosaic relief on the walls with both acts and prices.
Oh yeah, with those were also And then they had like footsteps or whatever going over to the brothels, but the bathhouses were sometimes different than the brothels. So
The bathhouses were magnificently made. They knew how to make things that last back then because they're still around. Then again, using marble kind of helps. Okay, so hey, Mark, what did you think of the movie?
It was a thing. I don't know.
I
mean,
killing me.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it since I remember seeing it at the movies when I was a kid, but I hadn't seen it since then. And I don't know. I guess the little guy in the Howard the Duck costume was kind of cool. I mean, how they did that, but I don't know. Otherwise,
I don't know. I'm a fan of any comic book character that smokes cigars. I guess
I watched
nice.
Guardians of the Galaxy #3 the other day, and Howard the Duck was there playing cards or something.
Yeah, he's playing cards. Yeah, and
Your face, dog?
yeah. Well, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, was the first appearance of Howard the Duck in a movie since this movie.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people apparently played Howard the Duck, or given credit for it.
I'm sure it took 2 or 3 people just to do his face.
Oh yeah.
Those things are all independent: eyes, mouth, feathers.
I mean, it made its money back. They spent $30 million to make this movie. It made $37 million.
It was considered a box office bomb even in its day.
Commercials.
Yeah, it was.
You got to make like 3 times your budget to break even in Hollywood.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing: is the theaters get half of that cut. So ignoring it wasn't we talked about advertising. I'm not sure the advertising was as high back then, but it's definitely a lot higher now.
I watched before I watched the movie. Before I watched some of these movies, especially the old movies, if I can find the trailers to them, I'd watch
the trailer for this one too.
And the trailer made it look fun. I think the movie.
It was a cute movie, not everybody's cup of tea, but it wasn't, The Scientist. Just saying.
So Ed Gale was the one that did Howard the Duck, and he's 3'4".
So all right,
and he apparently also played Chucky. So there you go.
Good.
There you be.
Good
Who was your least favorite actor, not character actor, Mark?
That guy that was like the the nerdy whatever scientist guy. He got on my nerves quite a bit. So probably him.
Consensus achieved.
Right?
Yes, you, Mark, you have come up where all of us concur in this. So
Mm.
Maybe not Shadow, because I know Shadow's got a grudge up for.
Well, the guy later on in life got arrested and went to prison for being a pedophile. So it is kind of,
Justified.
yeah.
Even as a kid, he gave me the creeps. Just saying.
Yeah. I think he normally plays a prick
yeah,
in most of the movies I've ever
Yeah.
seen him in. Mom and Dad Save
Yeah,
the World.
he always does.
He played. I mean, he was a good guy, but he was still a prick. This one, he was actually human-ish.
Right. That's what
Yeah.
I said. I gave him credit where credit was due. Both for seeming like a decent, if not even a good person, and then turning into a monster and playing that well. But he was born with a look. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it because he's a ginger?
It's not just that. There were a couple of different qualities. I don't want to go into it. Beat a dead horse, but
Right.
he had that look that sort of forces people into thinking a certain way about themselves. And sorry, but trust me, there's other solutions to that perceived problem. I've seen a lot of people, find their soulmate, so to speak. Just look at Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman. Those two were made for each other. Somewhere out there was that person for him, and I guess he just never found that person.
I thought
he was looking for someone too young.
That's such a low standard. Anyways,
So apparently, Howard the Duck is the lowest rated thing that Tim Robbins has done. It's tied with one other movie he's done in his entire career.
yeah.
IMDb has this rated as a 4.7, which is pretty bad.
This movie, I mean, I don't want to say okay.
What does Rotten Tomatoes have for the audience score?
This movie to me will still always be better than Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. This movie to me, what?
It's a pretty low bar.
Yeah.
Well, when you get
It
movies
is
like this,
guilty
you have to
pleasure.
look for the low bar.
He's allowed to be made fun of this entire thing because that's what it's a guilty pleasure. So
Exactly.
I mean,
But don't feel guilty about it. It's fine.
there was like a couple other movies I thought about, but I realized, it's like I thought about Tremors. I'm like, no, because Bruce is doing Tremors.
I like Tremors too.
Tremors is on the list of best guilty pleasure movies ever.
Oh
Yes.
God, yeah.
It didn't on that list.
Okay, so it's rated as a 13. I'm sorry, the audience score gives it a 38%. That's what we'll count it as. So,
But this movie will, I don't know. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie as a kid. I enjoyed the hell of this movie as an adult, to be honest. I will watch it. I'll force my daughter to watch it just because she made me go watch Barbie. And what's fair is fair. Well, she hasn't forced me to go. I haven't seen it yet, but we are going to see
In
it.
20 years, the Barbie movie will be on the guilty pleasure list. We'll be having this conversation again.
Yeah, I won't be there that day.
Yeah, you will.
I will say this much: it's still more enjoyable than 2001.
All right. So,
Oh,
wow.
I love that movie. I know it's
I
a slow
just watched
burn.
it with my kids for the first time the other day. Watched 2001 with my two oldest boys, and my 13-year-old gets done with it, and he says, "Huh, now I understand all those pop culture references that I missed."
Yes,
That
all I
says
can
something.
think is please don't, Hal. Please don't, Dave. Please don't, Dave. I'm like, that's the only thing you need to get for the entire movie because it's so boring. Nothing happens for the most part. It's incredibly boring. Just, oh God. Anyway.
You know what is sad? Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, the movie is more quote. And I will say this: Super Mario Brothers was more quotable than this movie is. I
Which
can't.
one? Which version?
The old one, the live action one.
You mean the one where they almost killed the actors?
Yes, is more quotable than this movie. If I said, where I'm from, we don't say we say die.
You don't say that.
No one's going to get it. There's very few lines in this movie that's, anybody's going to say 10, 30. This movie's been out for almost 40 years. And you don't hear very many people quoting this movie.
There's a reason, because very few people saw this movie.
Well, fine.
All it's in syndication. They watched it in syndication where it got, butchered by the editors and everything.
Yeah.
I was just glad that I was able to find where I could watch this without having to pay for it. That's
I bought it. I've bought this movie. This has been, oh God, how many times have I bought this movie? This will be the fourth time I bought this movie. Once on VHS, once on DVD, once on Blu-ray, and now on digital.
I rented it, but I made sure to pause it before it was over, rewind it all the way back to the beginning so the fam could watch it, and I'm pretty sure they're just going to not. But try to give them some culture, and,
This movie qualifies culture.
This is the kind of movie that Shadow makes his son watch, so his son can just wake up and hard in the middle of the night going, Battle Wizards was so much better.
Jack got brought up in one of my conversations as showing up on a show, and I jokingly said, Jack is one of those Catholics. He's a good person, but he believes anybody does anything before they get married, they're going to burn in hell. Everybody's like, but at the same time, God, does he need to get laid?
I was saying that just the other night, but I'm perfectly fine if he waits until he's 18.
Oh, yeah. But this movie, okay. So what scene would you cut out, Mark, besides for the entire movie?
I would have cut that whole scene when they were flying away on that little aerolite, whatever thing, like in half
right?
at least. That
No. I agree with you.
On and on.
It was the only.
I would have cut that down by at least a half the time.
Actually, Mark, from a editing standpoint, that should have pretty much been cut almost all the way out, just because it didn't add anything to the movie.
There's no chance of that.
But yeah, because they spent their entire budget on that thing.
Yeah,
he's not wrong there too.
I mean, they spent so much of that budget. I was like, who had this idea of doing this big long car chase and everything else? I'm like, whoever. Look, I understand that.
Well, because it was some of the most action-packed parts of the movie. You could only do so much of the quack foo before getting ridiculous. And
they could have just cut that out and saved 20 minutes in the film.
But I'll bet what happened was they filmed that scene pretty early on.
Yeah.
And then took the movie in an entirely different direction afterward and said, well, screw it. We already filmed it. We got to put it in there somewhere.
I mean, don't get me wrong, because I thought that the flying was fantastic in there, but I agree it's a completely unnecessary or way too long for what it is.
Yeah,
but think of the novelty of it. I mean, how often do you get to see an aerolite or whatever it's called, in action like that? You really don't get to even see those much anymore, and that could be an amazing little hobby.
I flew in one when I was in Hawaii. I flew it over the.
That wasn't a blast. Was that awesome?
Yeah. Oh, I love that thing. But what gets me about the whole thing on this is, again, it's unnecessary for the film. It's fine for I would have loved to see it in something else, but like I said, the best part of that was when it dunks Tim Robbins' head underwater, so we don't have to hear him. Like I said, I liked the aerolite stuff. It was just wrong for the movie.
Take care, Grandma.
Bye, Grandma.
So, what about you, Bo? What movie? What would you take out, except for every scene?
Okay, I'm not gonna agree. I mean, I'm gonna agree 100% with Mark, but just to be contrary, how about the entire cafe scene with the Cajun sushi, the fighting? That scene did like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when
that
they
would be
thought
my,
they were gonna.
that would be
Yeah.
my deletion. The entire idea of seasoning the duck while it's still wearing
Yeah,
clothes
right.
is retarded.
Yeah, I mean, it would have. I won't
You're not
say
gonna
so much.
you're not
is
gonna
the
pluck
fact
it,
they had
skin it,
Cajun sushi.
you know,
was kinda
tenderize
funny.
it. Oh, I don't know, keep it from talking before you try to cook it up. That was just retarded.
Yeah,
I-
it was just
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I
mention
thought that
another
too.
one? How about the romance scene in bed with Howard the Duck?
That
no,
was
no,
cute.
no,
I
no,
know
no, no,
it was
no, no.
gross, but it was
no,
cute.
no. That one had Leah Thompson at her best.
right.
And
Yeah,
I
that was
think
my
Elle just
favorite
said
part.
so. I didn't know she was
Came out in her
18.
underwears.
But yeah, you know,
That movie's that
What,
part's
26 or 27?
yeah, that part's staying.
that part is probably the most rewound version or scene from that movie. And yeah.
Not to be too much of an oinker, but yeah.
This goes back to Bo saying if I could go back in time and redo my high school.
Everybody would go for quality over quantity if they could do it over again. Quantity.
Actually, at that
Quantity-
point, it would just have been nice to get any quantity.
Well, that's the thing. You just had your standards are too high.
Yeah.
Wait, do high school boys have standards?
Yes.
Some do.
None of the guys I knew. It was always the high school girls that had standards that kept us at bay.
Look, quantity has a quality all of its own.
You know, I'm not even going to go into that because maybe after the show.
All right. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'd be cutting out the sushi. When I first saw
The restaurant was funny. Okay, the concept, even the waitress was enjoyable. You know, but then when the rednecks come up, and you can't blame them. It's duck hunting season. They're probably a little less thirsty than the average person, and they see a giant freaking duck. I mean, if you like duck, then maybe. But as soon as it starts talking,
Here's the real problem. They didn't have actual Cajuns in the restaurant. Otherwise, it would have been believable.
Well, that was Cajun sushi though. They had it was the sushi chef was in the back.
Well, that's true, but this is Cleveland. If this was done in if this was done in Mississippi or Louisiana, then people would have been like, yeah, they would have eaten the duck.
From a
they eat alligator. Come on.
From a foodie point of view, I'm just trying to picture in my head what Cajun sushi would even look like.
and another thing that was
Yeah,
bothered me in
you
that
take sushi and you sprinkle Old Bay on it.
No,
No,
not Old Bay is Maryland. You have to get Tony Kachuri's.
Did anybody else wonder how in the duck world Howard knew what fried eggs looked like?
Yeah. Well, they could. Ooh.
How would he know? What there are duck cannibals on Duck World? That was just like what? How would he even know? He might. It would be funnier. It would have been funnier had he taken a bite. What's this?
No, he's seen duck abortions before.
Oh wow! That guy.
See, you just add this, and it makes it more authentication here.
Oh, okay.
This is good too.
You can't eat mud bugs raw. I don't know. I don't think you can't eat gator raw or you'll get parasites.
Oh,
So that's true of a lot of animals if you aren't careful.
You can do. You can't do shrimp. So that's out.
yes,
So I mean, the whole.
fresh.
Hey, Connell, I've had raw crab before. I do not recommend it. So
It just needs to be very, very fresh.
Well, this was in Hawaii. My family handed me some, and I'm like, yeah, I'm never having this again.
Because all they do with the shrimp is, they just roll them in lemon juice to cook them, but they're not really cooked.
I've had that. They're okay for that, but I much prefer actual
Yeah.
like butterfly and bread it. That's my rule.
All right. So the Cajun. All right. So, what do you consider some of the best scenes in the movie?
Any scene with Leah Thompson in a miniskirt. The end.
Not technically saying no to that. Granted, I think she's like old enough to be my mom, but that's besides the point.
Well, I was 10 when the movie came out, and I agree. But we're talking about a moment, a snapshot captured in film, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wintetter's finest. Yes, we're looking at. Don't get me wrong.
Um,
If I could have a young Lauren Bacall, that's exactly who would be my pick. So.
I like the driving scene when they're driving away from the lab, and the guy who's
The
bad
Jeep
guy.
Cherokee?
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I just like that scene. I like how they did the transformation, not like over, really fucking quick, but it actually graduated going that direction.
And as far as the slapstickiness of the movie goes, I mean, when they pull into the restaurant and the bumper is actually touching the window, it's not unbelievable. I mean, we've all been in situations that are like that, right? Where you just make it by the skin of your teeth.
I'm going to say my favorite part was the beginning when he went over, right when they're going through all of the play duck and all the other stuff that they were showing. There was all of the duck references that they had gone through.
Yeah.
All the puns and things.
Admittedly, they did a good job on that. But for me, it was all of the music scenes, all the times the band was performing. I just got this thought of this is what would happen if the band was Cyndi Lauper and the Blackhearts. It was just so perfectly 80s, and I forget who, but there were at least two of her bandmates that actually went off and did things as well.
Holly,
Well,
her name, the black girl?
Holly Hunter.
No. The black girl. I think her name's
Holly, wasn't it Holly Hunter and
no. Holly Hunter's a black.
But yeah, wasn't she in 21 Jump Street?
Yeah.
She was in a few other films too. I think one of them with that were kind of big.
But I forget the other actress. She also went on, I think, to do stuff.
Who was the, and I can't remember, who was Tim Robbins' actual girlfriend?
I thought it was
It was the redhead.
Yeah, it was not. It was that was where she knew him from. He was actually the boyfriend of someone else.
The only she said the only other person's more desperate for dates than I am.
Yeah. So wholesome.
This is definitely a wholesome movie.
Holly
What are
Robbins.
you going to do with your daughter?
What's her
So
name? Yeah.
Well, my daughter's just as bent as I am, so. Oh my god. My daughter had her first interaction with a vegan this past week. It was amazing.
Oh,
We'll get to that later on.
Holly Robinson Pete is the one that I was thinking of. She was one of the. I don't know who the other one was.
Okay. There was a scene in when he first lands and he's getting thrown around, and he gets knocked into the homeless lady who has the cart. And if you look at the plastic mug next to the old lady, there was a Gremlins icon on it, a Gremlins thing on it. I thought that was kind of cool.
that's very 80s. Sort of acknowledging each other's movies.
Yeah.
Is that Lucas giving a nod to Spielberg?
I mean, they've had a bromance for how long?
Didn't George Lucas
fund a lot of Spielberg stuff. As he was one of the
The Iron Lab.
executive producers for things. He was an executive producer while a lot of Spielberg did the films themselves. I'm not sure, but yeah.
And I'm kind of hopping around because we're only into an hour of this movie. It's going to be another one of those quick chats, I have a feeling.
It was a good movie. That's what happens when it's
If,
good.
When it utterly lacks all nuance.
You gotta realize that it wasn't meant to be,
Discuss.
it wasn't targeting, the brain trusts of the world.
Well, let's be honest about this. I'm not sure who this movie was actually aimed at.
Junior high.
It had a limit that it couldn't exceed. Let's put it that way.
it wasn't kids. I mean, you'd think this would be a kid movie, but this is not a kid movie.
No boys. That's exactly what they made this movie for.
This movie is radar. I mean, then again,
No, I thought it was PG, wasn't it, or was it PG-13?
they showed. Did they actually really show anything?
No.
They
They
showed duck
God
food.
damn them.
Death boobs.
Yeah.
I mean, they got really, really close on a few scenes of showing stuff.
Okay, so it's PG is what it was rated in 1986.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I'd want to show this to my child. So
Why don't PG-13 didn't come out until Red Dawn? Was that 86 or 87?
I thought that was 85.
That was
Was
84.
Red Dawn?
That was 84.
So let's see. Red Dawn was 1984.
Okay.
And that was PG-13.
And so the word
I thought-
PG-13 movies.
I thought it was Temple of Doom that pushed the limit on
It
it.
was-
I
it was
think
Temple-
it was PG.
PG.
Temple
Yeah,
of Doom
Temple
was
of
PG.
Doom is what pushed the rating.
It might have set some things in motion, but as I recall,
Yeah.
Well, so
I
did
think that you're
Poltergeist.
right. Yeah, you're right.
Poltergeist kept. I saw it flip between R and PG depending what time it was released.
Poltergeist. That's another old movie I remember as a kid. Let's go back to the RPG aspect of this. Like I said, this movie makes me want to play Dragonbane.
Why
Okay.
Dragonbane? Oh, because they have ducks.
They
Yeah.
can play yeah.
Okay, that actually comes from many earlier games that had that as a thing. I actually have some miniatures of famous Scotsman ducks and kilts and with claymores and things like that. I can't pinpoint the game.
So RuneQuest and Dragonbane are both from that same early 80s era.
Right.
So
And
Where did Bo go?
the
I got
kids
an
must.
OSC supplement recently that has ducks in it too.
Okay. I don't mind duck creatures. I don't. We have Darkwing Duck. Later on, and
Yeah, I think if you're going to go that route, it's actually in my games. I actually have locations where there are the entire animal kingdom that have been anthropomorphized, just because I was running out of ideas at a time, and it came off really fun for the group to bump into stuff like that, and it actually turned out to be kind of advantageous for them. And recently, with actual furries and whatnot, it kind of ruined any kind of fun you can have with that without it turning into something
I think that also just depends on the group, though. I mean, yeah, furries.
there's going to be somebody in there that's going to make a furry joke, and then you just lost it.
I'm going to this much. It's going to be bad pun day whenever you're going to
Yeah.
be playing this. If you play this, it's going to be just bad pun after bad pun, which is great if you're all willing to accept that.
Yeah, and for a
Or
one
play
shot,
Toon. Or you could play Toon, which
Yeah.
Connell's probably never heard of it or played it.
I know of it. I've never played it.
It's a cartoon. It's literally you're playing cartoon characters in a cartoon world where you use cartoon physics and rules and tropes, and it's good for a little change of pace, but yeah. It's one of those microscopic niche games or genres that you better pull the blinds, lock the doors, and make sure you're not getting interrupted, because you do not want to have that hanging over your head Uh,
So I'm going to mention
you
this.
know what I
one.
mean?
If you haven't played this, Mutant Year Zero,
Gamma
Gen Lab
World.
Alpha. Yeah, that's where this would fit in. But you know what? Ignoring the furry aspect, I actually like playing anthropomorphized animals as just weird, fun things that are just lighthearted.
I mean, you got the
Exactly.
if Max
I personally,
after the bomb.
I kind of actually like it where the player characters enter a world of those animals versus the animals coming to Earth. You can do the Planet of the Apes thing, but with rabbits and giraffes, the whole animal farm out to get these monsters because they'd be inconceivably they wouldn't be able to think or understand that they're evolved apes. It would be these are devil spawn aliens or whatever abominations, and you could actually make it scary as opposed to humorous, cute, Disneyfied, whatever you want to call it. Just think how terrifying Planet of the Apes was the first time you watched it. As a kid, it was terrifying.
Watched. Well, let's be honest. We watched Looney Tunes, and so we all got used to the anthropomorphized animals kissing other men. No.
Bugs Bunny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, going back to that, if you look at pulp culture, I mean, yes, we have a lot of duck. Because of the '90s, we have Darkwing Duck. We have a few other
Scrooge McDuck. DuckTales. Sure.
But if you look at the time that this movie was made, there was only realistically three not popular cartoon comic book ducks out there: Donald Duck, Donald, Daffy, Daffy, and Howard. That's really it. I'm not saying there wasn't other ducks out there, but widely known, it was just these three.
Connor McQuack, I think, was one from the RPG community, but that was like really microscopic.
And Rubber Duck from the Amazing Zoo Crew. That was from Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew.
But
the only person probably ever read that.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the polling would be or what group would be. It's like, which of these ducks have you heard of? And 10-1, you're going to get a Darkwing Duck, and a bunch of the newer ones over. Well, everybody knows Donald. Everybody knows. Well, not everybody. Daffy's kind of disappeared into the background so much. I don't see too much of Daffy Duck really out there.
Yeah, you don't see any of the Warner Brothers cartoons.
Except for the Space Jam, the last movie that came out, Space Jam, which was a train wreck.
I'll mention this much.
Train wreck, but yeah.
Well, side note, go look at Porky Pig in his original incarnation.
Oh, yeah.
And he was humongous. He was not, when they call him Porky Pig, he was, that boy, if he was a human being, would have been like 400 pounds. I mean, that was.
And believe it or not, Bugs Bunny's original personality was actually Daffy Duck.
I thought he was his original personality. I thought was a New Yorker with that strong New York accent. Whenever you hear.
Well, yeah, but no, I mean the way he acted.
Oh,
actually, he was closer to Woody Woodpecker.
Oh, okay.
The original Daffy
Oh
Duck.
God, that's a cartoon I haven't thought about in years.
Right. It was pretty weird to see the original Bugs Bunny transform into,
Wade.
Bugsy Malone or whatever,
Wade the duck from Garfield? I don't remember there being a duck on Garfield. I remember
he was a rubber duck.
Oh.
I think.
Okay.
Which is a hysterical name for a duck.
I remember. But no, growing up, when it comes to ducks, it was just realistically those three.
Out of nowhere, Omen. Okay.
Oh, come on.
I everybody here passed, but thank you.
That's fair. That's fair. Back in, when, oh God, who was it? We had the Britney Spears was our test back when I was in high school.
Probably because you're saying high school, but I was always looking at the, I want women in their 20s, not 18, not in their teenage years.
Yeah, they got to be at least old enough to drink. Even though I don't drink, it's kind of a safe rule. I
They
mean,
have to
now
be old enough to buy their own drink, is realistically where it comes down to. Or be old enough to be willing to buy their own drink.
You
I'm
know
saying
what?
I'm not willing to buy them a drink, but if you're on a date and some girl's like, hey, or a woman can say, hey, let me buy you a beer as I get my round, that's fucking amazing. I'm sorry, but that's just fucking amazing.
You know, as you get older, you kind of like, why don't you buy me something? Or my favorite thing is I want a man to buy me dinner. I said, okay, but you have to cook it.
Oh,
Go ahead. What's what up?
okay. Al here with his
Oh.
his.
Okay, now I remember that's been.
I don't know.
I've never been a huge Garfield fan. That's the problem.
Let me guess, you were a Heathcliff fan?
Oh,
I know you're not that old.
I remember Heathcliff.
hey, look. Let's be
You and
honest.
about 8 others.
They kept showing Herculoids 20 years after it came out. So no, that was,
No, Heathcliff got his own little cartoon back in the 80s.
yeah,
It
he
only
did.
lasted maybe like a season, but it was there. Okay.
But Chitara is the one that makes you wonder and how which way you go. Are you going towards human or not?
Oh, Thundercats would make you question things too. Anyway,
That's my whole point.
that's horrible. Cheetah. Horrible person I am. Would you, if it wasn't, yes, there is already a new Howard Duck out there. He has showed up in
He
Avengers.
looks more like the cartoon Howard the Duck with the bill that's upturned, not the bill that's
Right. He's wearing the tweed suit. He's already shown up in the
No
new.
pants.
Is he wearing pants?
He didn't wear
Actually,
pants. The original
Disney.
Howard did.
Yeah, they can do that now. Disney sued Marvel Comics in the 80s because Howard the Duck with no pants looked too much like Donald Duck.
And
I
because
remember him
in
wearing. I
foreign
must have
countries,
remembered him
in
wearing.
every
They
other
found him on
country
the court.
around the world, they had this issue that they couldn't tell the difference between Howard the Duck and all ducks or something, and Donald Duck. It was really weird that, yeah, you got to do
There
something.
was a lawsuit over it. But now Disney owns both, so they can do whatever they want. Because Disney is the evil empire.
Yeah.
but it's
But their
yes.
stock is down to like $80 a share, so let's keep the ball rolling on that.
Well, let's just remember Disney is just as competent as the Trade Federation and Star Wars. So with their droids.
Well, sometimes aggressive negotiations are involved.
I still love the South Park where they're coming over about China and how he's trying to kill off Winnie the Pooh.
Would you want? I mean, the new Howard the Duck. Granted, is Disney, and
No,
But
you can already answer.
I
that
would. Here's why. If somebody like Ryan Reynolds can go off and do Deadpool, and Deadpool being as amazing as Deadpool is, granted, second one was kind of lacking, but first Deadpool.
Wait a minute. He made that under Fox.
He made the second Deadpool under Disney though, and it was still Deadpool.
No, I think it had already been made and they released it, but it was. But
Yeah.
Well, so it's
Disney
going to be
owns
the third
Fox,
Deadpool
owns all
movie.
that.
It's going to be
Yeah.
the newest one, where we'll see where it stands.
yeah, we'll see. But
I'm just saying,
but-
if Disney leaves Howard the Duck alone, as if they're leaving Ryan Reynolds alone, we could have a halfway decent Howard the Duck movie that is, well, a lot of you guys will say it's going to be probably better than the last one. I personally think this movie is great, but I wouldn't mind seeing a different version of it. I would not mind seeing, even if it's just a cartoon Howard the Duck.
I would rather just go to cartoons. I am so tired of everyone doing live action for animation. Damn it, just leave it as animated. I enjoy that more. Stop spending $120 million on something that I enjoyed more as a cartoon.
To do a good Howard the Duck movie, you have to wait 20 years because superhero stuff is so played out right now. There's almost nothing that they can do that would actually make money. And what you'd have to do is you have to do a hard reset on society, by waiting some time so that producers and directors will be willing to take a risk on it. It needs to be a risky movie.
Well,
And right
here's the
now,
other. I think
Not
here's
to
the other
mention,
part.
I think there'd need to be like a previous resurgence of pulp, film noir, and a part of, like you said, that societal reset to where they can appreciate things of the past and that the best you can be is the toughest you can be sort of mentality, individual rugged individualism, whereas right now it's all
Spider-Man, No Way Home did amazing. Guardian of the Galaxy movies, the first one and third one did amazing. The second one was just not great.
So
because
well,
there's
no.
no
Here's what we're
doing
looking.
the movies anymore. There's no competition.
He's not a superhero.
right.
Howard
Right.
the Duck is not a superhero. So
But it's a
you
superhero movie.
just have to,
It's a
you have-
comic movie.
yeah,
It is
you
a
have to
movie.
make it
Yeah.
as a comedy movie that is. Go ahead, Mark.
I don't. Well, as far as I know, he was always supposed to be a riff on Jack Kirby, and I don't know that anybody has any frame of reference to Jack Kirby anymore, and they'll get it,
Out-
really get it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought he was
outside the
more
comic
of a-
book people,
more of-
because
more along the lines of the creator who wasn't Jack Kirby, the other guy, his personality and what have you.
based on Steve Gerber.
Yeah,
yeah.
Gerber. I don't know how I forgot that last name,
Mm.
but yeah, and
I always thought that because he's always chomping on cigars.
Well, Steve Herbert did Man Thing, which was always to me a knockoff of Swamp Thing. I don't know of the two who came first.
Verse.
I think they were close. Same
Right.
time came out.
Yeah,
I
they
think
were
it's real
very-
close.
yeah. I think which one was drawn by Bernie Wrightson mostly.
I'm not sure. I just know that
those
one
were-
crazy guy's
those-
run on Swamp Thing was considered the best run.
Well,
Watchmen Arthur, what's his name? Alan Moore. Alan
Yeah,
Moore.
yeah. I was about ready to say the guy who directed him. He's not talking about Zach. He's talking about the
Right.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was also drawn by Bernie Wrightson. He was a phenomenal horror writer, and that's the way it kind of came off. Back in the era when Tomb of Dracula and Frankenstein were actual monthly comic books that you can't do that now. There are I can't think of any real other than maybe some manga that are real horror in the traditional sense, and you really, in order to make Howard be viable again, you'd have to do so many things to change. People are so soft, and the movie would just be barraged with furry memes.
Here's the thing for a comedy to do well, I think, is it needs to parody and mimic, which this one tried, but this one, it just felt so forced, was the times and surroundings that you're in. That's what makes them hilarious.
Don't forget that the movie came out, the comic book was based in the 70s, if not the 60s.
No, that came out in 1972 or 74. And it
Right.
came out, Howard the Duck did not have his own comic like a lot of those guys for years. He appeared, semi-monthly in Tales of Suspense or something.
I get that. I mean, the people who were working on it, the artists and the writers, because of their age, were like us. A lot of us are real fond of our time in the 80s. They were probably real fond of their time in the 60s and the 70s, and sort of stuck in that mentality. Not when it was actually done, but their personalities and what have you would have a lot of influence from decades or a decade at least before they were working on the project, and that would sort of inform as to what was going on in the comic books. There were a lot of in the Howard the Duck comic books. There were a lot of 60s and 70s references in the way of clothing and hairstyles and things like that, and then they jumped it 10 years forward to make the movie. I think it would have actually been even funnier if it had been set in the 70s with the drug innuendos and the just different things from that era, the hippies and
Well, the problem I think with this movie again is it doesn't have a target audience. I think you can do with this if you say it's going to be an adult film, or you can do something like that.
I think one of you guys, I don't remember who, nailed it on the head. I think this movie was for 15, 16-year-old boys.
But that's
in
a very narrow
86,
demographic is the problem.
I mean, yeah, in 86, I don't remember when Goonies came out, but it feels like it was that era.
Yeah, it was.
Right, except for a huge part of the fan base came from the Howard the Duck magazine, not comic book, which was aimed at adults. Those magazines, Savage Sword of Conan, Eerie, Creepy, Vampirella, all those magazines, those black and white magazines were not being picked up by the kids, just like heavy metal. A lot of times they wouldn't let you buy them, even though
heavy metal was not meant for kids.
Right, but it wasn't. But it wasn't technically, Playboy, Penthouse, or Hustler.
No, I think it was like guys in their 20s.
It was just the store owners and whatnot were not going to sell that and then have somebody's mom come and chew their ass out for selling this, smut or whatever they would call it, waving a Savage Sword of Conan magazine at the proprietor. Trust me, I'd seen it happen. And the magazines were way more grown up.
Because it's one of the reasons why the movie failed then. I mean, the movie obviously failed. It failed hard because it didn't have an audience. I mean, it was panned by both critics and at the box office.
Right. It definitely needed to pick a lane and stay in it and lean into it as opposed to trying to be sort of, paint with a whiter brush.
Okay. Let me drive from this. My problem with critics is this, and it comes from my childhood. I grew up watching the old Ninja Turtle movies. I remember seeing all of them in theater, the first, second, and third.
The first one was really good.
But the first one appealed to all age groups is the problem.
Right.
Is the point. Yeah, that's why I did.
The first and second one, in my opinion, were the best. The first and second one were the best. But I remember, God, who was that? Those two critics back in the day that basically, yeah, Herbert and whatever basically gave the second one and the first one thumbs down, 2 thumbs down, and basically almost killed it in theater because these two one fat ass and the other one had such a high opinion of what movies should be. Fuck everybody else.
Connell, that's not the way. When it came out, those were huge movies, and it didn't get killed by Siskel and Ebert. In fact, exactly the opposite. They really, because I remember going out there, and admittedly, fine, my friends were enthusiastic. Oh man, they come out with the Ninja Turtle movie, and and that just went nuts. And then the little kids got into it, and it was aimed enough that I, as a parent, I wouldn't mind taking all age groups to that movie.
Oh,
Howard the Duck is not that way. That's the thing that comes into it.
I think the original Ninja Turtles movie, if it was produced today, would have been a rated R movie for violence and people being wussies.
No, it would not have been rated R. It would have been PG-13.
Raphael said a bad word.
You're allowed to say one.
Granted, yeah, I've been having fun with that. Lord of the Rings movies are all PG-13 movies, right?
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of decapitations in those.
Right. Well, in PG-13 movies, you're allowed to drop one F-bomb. So me and my buddies have been trying to place where we put the F-bombs at.
Well, you know what? It's always done by the dwarf.
No, Gandalf.
No, not Gandalf. It's always done by the dwarf because he speaks in that thick Scottish accent you never understand anyway. He can be cursing the entire time.
Yeah. The reason why I say Gandalf was in the first one when they're in the mine and Merry or Pippins, I don't remember which of the two it was, knocked that bucket down the well, and Gandalf goes off on him, and next time you can just throw yourself down that fucking well.
Nah. See, the problem is that doesn't work with Gandalf. It works really well with the dwarf because dwarves are supposed to be dirty old men. Have you ever seen the outtakes whenever they do the dwarf?
It doesn't even work with Tolkien.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Tolkien was so proper.
No. But I mean, did you ever see where they're doing the outtakes with John Rhys Davies in the film? Is he's making all the jokes while he's pretending to be drunk?
Oh God, no! But I need to.
Yes, well, get the extended version, which is 4 DVDs or whatever it is. When he goes through, he spends like 5 minutes just making all these different jokes, dwarf jokes, and they're all off color. So
The only time that there would be an F-bomb in those movies was when Gimli and Legolas are together, and they would be using the F word in reference to each other because they are so gay. so gay.
Here's my idea. Here's my
homoerotic metaphor. I'm sorry.
here's my
I
pitch.
mean, they
Here's
did run
my
off
pitch.
together, far, far away. You know,
And started a bed and breakfast in Vermont.
Oh, is
Rhode
that
Island.
what the West was? I didn't realize that.
This is
So
what the
here's
West
my-
was.
okay.
no, they went to the east. They went past Mordor.
No,
from what
that's
I
the
understand.
West. That's West.
No, they didn't go to the Undying Lands. Pardon me. All the elves did though. They went. And
Well, so did Gimli. All the ring bearers did, and Gimli did too.
Yeah. So here's my pitch.
So when he
Here's
said Vermont, I'm like, well, that's West.
not so much. Disney Plus produced a What If series.
Yeah,
Wasn't that bad?
I didn't watch
Yeah.
them all. I just got caught up. I watched a couple.
So what you do is you have Howard the Duck and the Watcher having conversations about all the what ifs.
I can see that.
You know what, though? I will say this much is, again, I think if you're going to do Howard the Duck and you leaned into it and said, hey, this is very similar to what they did with Ted. When they had the teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You would
Yeah.
probably do better because then people would know what it is. But I know when I was as a kid, we're growing up as Howard the Duck, I can understand why people would flip out for going to this. This is not the movie I expected to go take my child to.
Okay, when Logan came out, when the movie Logan came out with Hugh
That's a
Jackman,
rated R film, and if that's a bad parent, okay,
I saw kids in that theater. When Deadpool came out, Ryan Reynolds did
Same with,
commercials.
what the hell was his name? Venom.
Tom Hardy.
I went with
No,
Jackie and his friend and their friend's mom, including their daughter, and they were not. The parents were not happy that they had just taken their kids to that movie.
It's Venom.
Well, but you should the people
Totally
know.
get it, but they didn't understand.
Well,
And there needs to be a little bit more,
Venom was what, PG-13? It was
there was an F-bomb in it, and the parents almost dragged the kids out at that moment.
Oh my
I mean,
God!
look. If it's R,
Hey,
you know what's
you know
going
what?
on. But
There
PG
are still people who do not, swear like us drunken sailors.
I get it, but if I'm taking my kid to do anything, I'm going to look into it first. If I've been reading Venom comic books since I was a kid, I have been. I would know that it's going to be a rough movie, especially the second one with Carnage.
This particular family had no concept of comic books other than from
But
back in
you
the day.
did.
It also seems like they had no concept of doing due diligence. It's not the theater's fault or the movie maker's fault to screen movies for your kids. You've got to do your due diligence and screen movies for your kids. Get online, find out why the movie's rated what it is. If you don't do that, I have very little sympathy.
Well, no,
Sympathy-
I'm
Mind
not
you,
doing this, but
mind
as
you,
a-
sympathy picture.
Not everybody's got time for that, and they just assume a comic book movie is
I
going to
would-
be relatively safe. Having
At
taken your
PG?
kids to see all the Spider-Man and Iron Man movies, and now Venom. Oh, okay. It was pretty. It should have had maybe
a PG film, not PG-13, but a PG film, which is what Howard the Duck was inappropriate, I think, for taking your kids, and that's one of the reasons I think that it.
Oh yeah, movie. If this movie today was released, it would never be able to be made.
Well, it'd be PG-13. I'm not gonna say it wouldn't be able to be made. It's everyone says that this movie can be made, but they said that about Reservoir Dogs when it came out.
Well, that director doesn't give a fuck about you or anybody else. He's going to make the movies that he wants to make.
That's my point. Is that it really just depends on what's going on there. The problem that I have with this is a little known IP, Howard the Duck, that when it was advertised, kind of was like, oh look, it's a cute furry duck, it's similar to The Dark Crystal or something. So you're like, oh, I can take my kid to this because this should be a safe film. And then the people who actually wanted a more adult one and look at it's like it's PG-13. That means they've watered it down for kids. I'm not going to go watch it. So you lost both audiences immediately.
Yeah.
You're
Agreed.
kind of right there.
I mean, Venom is one of my favorite movies. He was one of my favorite anti-heroes, villains, whatever you want to call him. I love Tom Hardy as Venom. I think he did an excellent job playing Eddie Brock. He wasn't a muscle-bound idiot the way the comics made Eddie Brock to be, which
And he wasn't the original character, is what you're saying. That's what you liked.
I like that they
Changed it drastically.
changed. I'll give you that. They did change it, but it was. I just liked the movie. I mean, I was more of a fan of Venom than I ever was of Eddie Brock.
You weren't supposed to like Eddie Brock.
Right.
Exactly.
This guy, there's a scene in Venom.
That's kind of why I thought it was humorous to see. I forget the kid's name who played him in the third.
Oh,
Spider-Man movie.
Toby something. He was on that
Oh
70s
no,
show.
Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Because of him coming out of that 70s show, it was like a bit of a stretch and kind of weird to watch it, but it was kind of amusing at the same time.
Well, the problem I have with it is I don't like him as an actor. That's the other problem that they have with it. Is anyway, regardless,
Almost all of them never did anything else after that, as far as I can remember.
That's not true. That one guy went to jail for double rape.
No, that wasn't him. That was Danny Masters.
No, out of the '70s show,
Right.
Actually, Ashton Kutcher did very well for himself.
Yeah, as did Mila Kunis. But
doesn't he have like a business where they go out and try to find missing kids?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, that's
right.
Okay, I'm just asking. I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, it's highly suspect. I haven't seen any kids actually returned.
Shadow, you're suspicious of everything. Well, you should be after last night's show.
Yeah, that's why I'm me and I'm there.
That's why Justin asked if those people were like my patients.
So, like I said, my take of Howard the Duck would be a what if series with him and the Watchers. With Howard the Duck being a smartass at the end, because that's really what he was in the comic books. He was a smartass.
Yeah, he was definitely out of place, out of time, and out of F's to give.
The thing is, when you start to look at like especially the Marvel universe, I think the thing that made the first movie so good.
Yeah, Al made a great point here. Just checking the official trailer, 27 years old, favorite pastime, cigars and sex. What parent would think the movie is safe?
Because a lot of times parents don't even watch those is the other problem. That there's a lot of it where the kid says, I want to go.
What parent at that time would even know who Howard the Duck was as a comic book?
I didn't know who Howard the Duck was.
My dad would have.
My mother knew a few from like Mad Magazine and stuff, and she would get things. But
I mean,
I still probably own a bunch of Howard the Duck comics, and if I could find the oversized, the really large one, I drop $20-$30 on it right now.
Well, the bottom is going out of the comic market, so you probably have pretty good luck with that.
I remember him being one of the storylines of Howard the Duck being a detective.
See, that was, I think sometimes, though, and this is what I find frustrating with all these movies, they have to give the origin story. And at a certain point, that prevents you from actually telling any real stories with these characters.
See, that's why I like the new Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
there was no origin stories. He just showed up on Civil War already having his powers. Then the movie's kicked off. No origin story.
Well, no, I don't agree with you, but the point is that you only need to do one origin story. You don't have to go through it over and over and over again every time you remake it.
Batman movie?
Yeah.
Well, actually, they've, the newer one actually I liked, which they didn't do the origin story for him.
The Ed Norton version of the Hulk was so good for that.
Yeah, the Hulk movies. I mean,
the Ed Norton Hulk, not the ones before that.
Oh yeah, I like who was it? Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, I hate that guy. Such a prick.
Who?
Mark Ruffalo.
I'm not saying I want to go have a beer with the guy. I'm just saying he makes an interesting.
I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire.
I wouldn't mind. Never mind.
See, I have that issue with Ed Norton. I think I have that issue with Ed Norton. I think he's I have issues with Ed Norton.
Really? Not a fan of Fight Club, are you?
What?
Not a fan of Fight Club, are you?
I read the book. Then I tried to sit through the movie, and I just couldn't.
The movie's freaking a piece of it's a
Blasphemy.
work of art.
Agreed.
I enjoyed the book more. I'm weird that way.
It's not unusual to say that you like the book better. And in many cases, I would agree. I just thought that they were significantly different.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I did in high school. I worked at a gym. I didn't help any workout, but I worked at a gym as a janitor. Just it was a high school job, right? I did martial arts there. I did boxing. I did, so it was just. I worked there. I got to train for free.
right. That's pretty common.
And every guy that I knew wanted to look like Brad Pitt from the Fight Club.
Right. Super lean.
And my boxing coach is like,
Body fat.
yeah, my boxing coach says half of these guys are not going to get anywhere close. And the ones who do get close, they're going to be able to keep it for maybe about a year and a half, and it's going to go away.
Well, people forget, I listen to a lot of, whenever you listen to boxers and stuff, before the fight, they lose like 30 pounds.
In the cut.
Yeah. When they're in that cut
Every
phase.
fighter, almost every fighter that I've ever known, and I've known a lot of fighters, a lot of AMI fighters, a few pro AMI fighters. Yeah, you got to cut down because you can't walk around like that. It's not healthy.
No, and they also talk about that they have sinus problems and headaches and dehydration. I mean, it's just like all these bodybuilders, like, oh, they look so good. I'm like, it's not healthy when you.
I would sit in a sweatbox sauna with 2 garbage bags on and no water.
I did it. I've done it. Did it a couple years back for a state tournament. I needed to get down to like 165, and I was walking around at like 185, and the whole leading up, we had a little sauna that was like the size of a refrigerator, and you'd run around, put a sweatshirt on, put your gi top over the top of the sweatshirt, sit in that sucker, and sweat and sweat and sweat. And
Push-ups, sit-ups,
it's
the whole 9
brutal.
yards. Yeah.
I won't do it again. And this was even like 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, the things that we'll do for a $5 piece of pot metal, right?
Right.
Hey, speaking of bad movies, let's not forget the Garbage Patch Kids or whatever they were.
I've never seen that one.
Neither
When
have
it
I.
came out, I had good grandparents. My grandpa kind of knew what they were because of his friends. Grandpa, I would like to rent this movie from, Corn Store Video or wherever the place was at the time.
Right.
He says, no, I know what that's about. The answer is no.
Did you ever ask your dad if you could watch Sheena, which was rated PG, despite having full nudity?
What movie?
What movie?
Sheena?
That's another one I've never seen. The only movie that he said oops to was Heavy Metal because he did not know what heavy metal was.
Yes. Well,
It was like what was that other movie with Brad Pitt? Cool City,
I never saw that.
Cool. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
where he was Cool World.
Yeah.
It looked like a cartoon to him, and a cartoon in the theater is going to be a whole lot safer than people with a regular movie.
I mean, like Fritz the Cat or whatever.
I didn't see that one until I was older, and there's good reasons beyond that one.
That's
Well,
Like
no,
Mortal
no.
Kombat. Mortal Kombat's another good example of this one. When the
So let's
video
see.
came out, no parent out there, because parents at that time period, I should say no parents, but there's a lot of parents out there that just didn't play video games. When they think video games, they think like Mario or Donkey Kong or Duck Hunt, whatever. And then Mortal Kombat for Sega came out, and it changed the game.
I remember playing Mortal Kombat in the theaters.
Oh, and the arcade
Yeah.
game. The arcade game. I remember a lot of controversy over the arcade game.
Oh, you
Yeah,
know what got me was
Finish
is people were talking about, oh, it's so terrible. In the meantime, there was an Air Force guy with his son. He said, yeah, my kids hold me up as a god when I pull their heart out in Mortal Kombat. So it's like, yeah, if you're willing to play the games to keep, but that's the same thing that when people are complaining about Grand Theft Auto. At the end of the day, the point is that who's actually buying these things? And I remember years ago, which made up controversy when they were complaining about Mass Effect has nudity, and I went, it's rated MA. MA means mature. It means that it's the same as rated R, so shut the hell up. Yes, but no, Xena
don't
Xena
buy
was
the
rated
two
PG. You know, that's one that was, and there was a cartoon of that when I was growing up as a kid.
I think it's almost time for Sunday supper because I got to get ready for
Okay.
work.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I think we're having our in-laws over for Sunday supper, and I think it's getting pretty close to that time.
all right.
Well, have a
Real
great
quick,
dinner, man. I will see you tomorrow,
All right.
probably.
Bo, really quick.
Uh,
Since you've showed up and everything, I want to know what your pick is for a guilty pleasure.
I put down 3 choices in the Discord.
Right. No, I just need you to pick one. I'm happy with
Because Omen said that we should do Lost Boys for Halloween, but Lost Boys is like one of the greatest men's guilty pleasure movies ever.
Well, yeah, but do you want to waste your pick and then have to pick something else at a different time? For the horror movies. That's what I'm referring to. So,
I'm happy with Big Trouble in Little Chinatown. That's a good one.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay, let's do that then. If everybody does it, we haven't done it. I figured we'd done that on this show, like the first week of this show.
No, Bruce beat me to it out the gate.
Yeah. So we're gonna do Big Trouble in Little China, or do you want to do Buckaroo
Wait,
Banzai?
have you done Big Trouble in Little China?
No.
Oh, then let's do Big Trouble in Little China.
All right. What about you, Mark?
Mine was going to be Death Race 2000, 70s version one.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Well, that's a cult movie and a half. I haven't seen that
All
in a couple of years.
All right.
And
So-
Shadow, what was yours?
Mine is Real Men.
Okay, so who wants to go next week?
Who wants to do next week?
Because I won't be. I'll be traveling next week, and I want to do my Lego movie. So
Well, are you going to watch whatever the movie is?
I don't know. It depends on how busy I am that weekend.
That's fair. Hey, Shadow, why don't you go next?
Because
I can do that.
yeah, for Real Men. Well, see, that one just sounds like the fun one I would watch anyway. But-
It's just a silly movie that just so happens to be the movie that I literally laughed the hardest, the longest, and the loudest in my life.
Okay, I haven't
When
seen this
when
one.
I first saw it, I literally laughed my ass off. I don't know why. I know it's not a great movie in any stretch of the imagination, but there's some things about it. Plus, John was a friend of the family, so there's that. It's just James Belushi was just awesome in that movie.
Okay, so who's playing it is the big thing.
I have no idea. I know I saw it on YouTube months back because Bruce did review it, and he actually gave it a 7, which is, Janet gave it like a 4 or a 5, but there was one scene that she absolutely loved, and I'm like, okay, you perv, I get it. I see how you are.
Janet's awesome. I have nothing bad to say about Janet.
No. She's always coming into the show and popping in at weird times and being her awesome self.
I've never interacted with her personally on any level.
She's apparently an actress.
She recommended a movie and I forgot the name of it, and I need to share that movie.
I know Justin's wanting me to pop off, start doing the videos where we review Shauner's Skyrim videos, but after Condor blasted him earlier last week, I think I'm going to give that a little bit more time.
Abe's been the one blasting him the hardest.
Who did?
Abe.
Abe did? Wow, I have to see that one.
Abe has been absolutely roasting him. In fact, I'm going to be doing a game with Abe next month. He invited me to do a one-shot. First time, like really simple role-playing system. I don't know which one, but I'm kind of looking forward to it because I get to put my role-playing skills to the test and see if I'm up to scratch.
That's fair.
I don't see why you wouldn't be.
So next week we are going to do Shadow's Real Men. Then the week after that, who wants to jump on the grenade?
I'll take the week after that one.
So it will be Real Men, followed by Lego Batman. Chris, if you're still in the chat, you'll love that. He's a big oh man, me and him went round, and he's a friend of mine. Me and him went round and round about the Lego movie, and my kid had Will Ferrell, so then he'd go burn in a fire. Okay, so Lego Batman, Then we're going to do Bo or Mark. Who wants to be next after that?
That doesn't matter. I can go.
All right. So Bo's Big Trouble in Little Chinatown, which I know will make
John Carpenter.
John Carpenter, which will make Bruce happy, and we'll give it. Then Mark, you are doing what again?
Death Race 2000.
Death
Death
Race
Race 2000. All right, that will be the lineup for this month. I hope everybody out there. We're going to be cutting a little bit earlier than normal. I hope everybody out there has a good evening and a good rest of the week or the beginning of next week. And we will see you next Monday when we will be talking about Real Men. That
Real
sounds
Men.
really bad. I'll have to work on that one.
All right.
I'll talk to you all later. Bye.
Happy trails.